I'm back in the cave to share with you a haul of vintage action figures from my all-time favourite toy line. I got them loose, I got them carded. Let's talk TMNT pickups.
Wowee, recycling work.
It's Chrome Dome, the foot mechanized warrior.
We've got him outnumbered, dudes. Not so fast, turtle scum.
No, it's that trashed out Wiggler the worm with his disgusting worm-eaten smile. And Dirtbag, the mutated miner prospecting for trouble with his jackhammer. And now, if that weren't enough, here comes Groundchuck, the foot mutated bull is a walking arsenal. But nothing frightens the turtles.
That's a lot of bull.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from Playmates.
What is going on? Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you're doing well. Now, the collection of vintage TMNT figures continues to grow, and what I wanted to do today was just share with you all of the vintage TMNT figures that I've picked up since my last TMNT pickups video, which was probably about 5 months ago now, so there's quite a few of them. Lately, I've been thinking more and more about kind of what my goal is with the TMNT collection, because the vintage toy line was around for like 9 years. There was tons of figures, vehicles, playsets. It's unrealistic to expect that I'm going to be able to get everything. So lately I've been thinking about kind of where I want to draw the line. And at the moment I'm really focusing on trying to complete the figures from 1988 to 1992. So the first 5 waves. Beyond that, I'll probably spot pick a couple of figures that kind of appeal to me. If they do, if I find them. And likewise with vehicles and playsets and so on. I'm focusing on the figures. Now, as I mentioned previously, 1988 to 1990, I'm pretty much all the way there with the exception of a couple of accessories. So most of the figures that we're going to be looking at today come from the 1991 and 1992 waves. There are a couple of exceptions. Now, some of these figures you may have seen already if you saw my last collection room tour video. Most of them, though, have just been piling up in the corner because I'm officially out of display space once again, so I need to get my hands on a couple more cabinets and just keep the display space growing. But that's enough of that, let's rip straight into the figures. Alrighty, so first up we have an upgrade on an existing figure that I had in my collection. I had him loose with no accessories. I've been hunting down a complete version and I finally got him, the 1991 Dirtbag figure. Now, I've mentioned previously, I love this figure. When we're talking about a universe in TMNT where the heroes and the villains both live underground, I think it makes all the sense in the world to have this gnarly mutant mining mole character. He's complete. He's got his jackhammer gun, his chisel knife, he's got his backpack with his little pick that sits in there. Beautiful figure. Love the love heart mum tattoo on him. Lots of nice detail, so really happy to now have a complete Dirtbag in the collection. Now, my original plan when I got my hands on the complete Dirtbag was to bust off the card a figure that I already had in my collection, and that was a carded Groundchuck that was in really rough shape. So I was prepared to pull that off the card. Thankfully, I haven't had to because I found this beautiful, complete, loose Groundchuck figure shortly after finding Dirtbag. And the reason I want to display these two together is, at least from what I understand, these two were kind of teamed up in the original animated series. Dirtbag and Groundchuck were kind of like a pair of henchmen, on the side of the bad guys. So they're bright colored, beautiful figures, lots of detail. So I just thought they'd display really cool together. That was always my intention. And like I said, I was happy to bust open my carded version. Thankfully, I haven't had to, but this guy's really cool. Lots of, nice kind of cybernetic details to go with the mutant bull sculpt. He's armed to the teeth. He's got this awesome crossbow weapon. He's kind of got a gun here that looks a little bit like a cattle prod, so that's kind of cool. And then he's also got this awesome wrist accessory here. A little bit of paint wear on the horns there, but that's okay. Really happy to have a loose, complete Groundchuck to display with his buddy Dirtbag. Now, speaking of Shredder's henchman from the 1991 figure line, next up we've got this awesome Razar figure. I absolutely love this figure. You look at him and he just immediately looks like a physical representation in toy form of how I remember the character from The Secret of the Ooze, which was one of my all-time kind of favorite childhood movies. Absolutely loved The Secret of the Ooze growing up. And again, tons of nice detail on this Razar figure. And probably, this might be a big call, but this figure might have the best accessories in all of the vintage TMNT action figure line, at least at least in my opinion, I absolutely love this R.I.P. Turtles tombstone shield. He's got this awesome staff, which is kind of a little bit like a Havoc staff with an articulated jaw. I can't think of any other accessories in the vintage line that actually have articulation. I mean, I might be wrong, but that's a really cool detail. And then we've got this mad kind of spider grappling hook. So these three accessories mean Raza is complete. I couldn't be happier to have this guy in the collection. Of course, he's from the 1991 Movie Stars line, so a sub-series of the vintage TMNT action figure line that came out kind of in conjunction with the second Turtles film, The Secret of the Ooze, like I mentioned, along with Super Shredder and his buddy that we'll look at in just a moment. So a really cool kind of sub-line within the vintage Turtles collection, and a figure that I am really happy to now have in the collection. And of course, we can't have Raza without his buddy Tokka. So we've got an awesome looking Tokka figure. Again, just like Raza, very kind of accurate to how the character was represented in the film The Secret of the Ooze, within the limits of 1991 kids toy sculpting and paint. But really beautiful figure, displays amazingly next to Raza. Now he's complete as well, so he's got his nunchuck, he has his mace, and then we've got a sai weapon, and we've also got kind of this this sword weapon. So those four accessories mean that Tokka is complete, but we obviously Raza lucked out in the accessories department. The accessories for Tokka certainly aren't as cool. They're just repaints of Slash's accessories, but still very cool. Still a beautiful figure, and just like Raza, excellent condition. So I couldn't be happier to have both of these guys now in the collection. Next up, we've got a 1992 figure that might just be my pick of the bunch among all the figures we're looking at today, and I'm talking about Merdude. I absolutely love the look of this guy. He's got that kind of Creature of the Black Lagoon / 1981 Kraken look about him. The face sculpt is awesome. He's got the eye patch. He's got some kind of futuristic details with his shoulder armor and his chest plate. A really nice metallic paint finish, or kind of pearlescent paint finish, which is really cool. And once again, he's complete. He's got his trident, his swordfish weapon. He's got a little starfish accessory here, and a little blaster as well. So Merdude is complete, and I'm really happy to have this guy in the collection. When I do get another display cabinet and I do have another shelf or two to dedicate to the Turtles, this guy is definitely getting pride of place in the display. Alrighty, next up we've got a couple of carded figures, and the first one is this 1990 Ray Fillet figure. Now, the figure itself is in beautiful condition. The bubble is nice and clear. There's no yellowing there. The card has definitely seen better days. There's a big kind of crease up here. It's not particularly straight. The corners are really worn. But the reason I actually picked this figure up wasn't to keep it in the collection as a carded figure. I actually picked this up to bust out of the bubble and display loose, because if you compare this figure to my existing Ray Fillet, it's kind of night and day as far as the condition goes. I'm pretty sure this Ray Fillet looked the same as this, when it was brand new. It might be a variant situation, because there's lots of different kind of maroon, purple, brown, and red versions of Ray Fillet out there. But this kind of, with the yellow shirt, I just think maybe that the kind of bluey green V's just really faded due to an action feature that some releases of Ray Fillet had, and that's a color changing feature when the figure is submerged into water. That might be the situation with this. Otherwise, or else it's just kind of faded from light or just play wear. I'm not too sure, but every Ray Fillet figure that I have found to date has just looked really worn. It looks like it's either been a bath toy, and the color changing action feature has just kind of worn the appearance of the figure, or like I said, it's just through play. But so I wanted to make a point of getting my hands on a carded Ray Fillet figure, but one that was kind of pretty rough and therefore kind of at the right sort of price where I don't feel too bad ripping this guy open. So that's the plan for this guy. Still very cool to have him on card and see that beautiful art and this awesome cross sell. Interesting to see the kind of color of the fish sticks sidekick accessory on the card back, as opposed to the actual release of the figure. It's like a two-tone paint here, which I don't recall with any of the either Ray Fillet variants that were released into the market, or just any other TMNT figure accessories. They're usually just sculpted in the one color. So that's kind of cool to see. Now, one thing that I have seen with regards to the file card is I'm pretty certain this isn't a color changing version of the figure, because I've seen file cards that show like a two-tone paint, that kind of really shows how that action feature works. So I'm pretty sure this guy doesn't change color, but that's all right. He's not seeing any water. This guy is just going to be busted open, card fresh, and displayed in the cabinet. So really happy to have this nice Ray Fillet in the collection. Next up, we've got another carded figure, and I'm talking about Super Shredder. Now, I'm not 100% sure what year this figure came out, because it says 1992 on it, but I've seen Super Shredder figures just like Toka and Raza and the other movie star turtles on a specific movie star card back that promotes the figure being released in conjunction with the film The Secret of the Ooze. Whereas this is on what I believe is the 5th anniversary card art, completely different art. I could be wrong there. So this might be a 5th anniversary release of Super Shredder, or just kind of a later re-release. Like I said, the card art says the card details on the back say 1992. Now, I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with this figure, because I already have a complete Super Shredder in the collection, but the same seller that sold me the Ray Fillet carded figure also had this going for the same price. It was 50 Australian dollars, and that was the price for both of those carded figures. And as far as, I think a loose complete Super Shredder is going to set you back more than that, so I just picked it up. I was already paying for postage anyway, so I thought we'll throw this in the box as well. Not sure what I'm going to do. I'll take a close look at the condition of my existing Super Shredder figure, and if it's an upgrade, then we'll bust him out as well. But for now, we're just going to put him on the shelf and until we make a decision as to what I'm going to do with him. But still really happy to have this Super Shredder. One thing that's kind of cool to me about these later release, these later waves, because I wasn't collecting the Turtles in 1992. I'd moved on to the Hasbro WWF figures at that point in time. But it's interesting to see the card back and the cross-sell on these later waves, because, instead of being like a 10 back or whatever the 1989 wave was, probably a 20 back, again, I'm not too sure. You have tons of figures here. You've got some movie star figures. You got some more we've got the Merdude there, and then we've got some of the kind of Grail figures like Half Court and Sandstorm already making their appearance here. So really cool to kind of go through here and work out where I'm at as far as getting closer to completing the 1991 and 1992 wave. So all in all, a really cool addition to the collection. Alrighty, next up we've got a couple of figures and accessories that I needed to complete the 1991 Mutant Military series of figures. The first one is Lieutenant Leo. Now, as you might have seen from previous TMNT pickups videos, I already had this guy loose with no accessories, so I've been on the hunt for his accessories, which include the anti-foot flag that all of the Mutant Military came with, this gun accessory here, this really cool pizza box bazooka that's got some really nice details on the top of the pizza box, and two of these little bomb accessories. They look exactly the same as one another. They've got stink bomb sculpted into them. Those are both the same. So 5 accessories total, but rather than tracking down those accessories individually, I found a complete version of Lieutenant Leo. So I'll check again for conditions to see if he's an upgrade. Otherwise, I'll just move these accessories over, and we've got Lieutenant Leo complete. Next up, Midshipman Mike. Again, I already have this figure with everything except for the anti-foot flag and the duffel bag. I found him here with 3 of his accessories, so now I can work out which version of the figure is the cleanest and, put the accessories together and have a complete Midshipman Mike. So that's another good one. And then last of all, for the Mutant Military, there's been this accessory which I've been on the hunt for, and it's probably been at the top of the list as far as like accessories that I'm chasing to complete figures. And I'm talking about Team Beret Raft's Bulldog Sidekick. I absolutely love this accessory. Tons of detail in the sculpt. We've got a little bulldog here in kind of a military getup. Now, as you may know already, if you kind of follow my channel, I'm a bulldog dad. I absolutely love these dogs. Mine is snoring about 2 meters from the camera, so I'm hoping that's not getting picked up. But in any case, enough about that. Really happy to have the biting bulldog buddy to complete my Team Beret Raft. I've already got the Pro Pilot Don complete, so now we can tick off the 1991 Mutant Military Turtles. Alrighty, next up we've got my first figure in a new sub-series that I'm getting into, and that's the Storage Shell Turtles. So we've got Storage Shell Donnie here. Now, from the checklist that I've been going off, this is the last figure that I've needed to complete the 1990 wave, the third wave of the toy line. So if I'm correct in saying that, now I have all of the 1990 figures, with the exception of the Giant Turtles and the Mega Mutants, both of which I want. But it's just a case of tracking them down. So really happy to now have all the 1990 figures. Obviously still some accessories needed to complete the wave in total, but really like these Storage Shell Turtles. Love the face sculpts on these turtles. Love the color-coded belts that we've got here, and the action feature, the Storage Shell action feature, is just a really clever play on the turtle shell. So really happy to have Storage Shell Donnie. He's got almost all of his accessories. So we've got a slingshot accessory, we've got his bow staff, and then we've got some smaller accessories that fit in the shell. So we've got his pizza, we've got this little fish knife accessory, we've got a hatchet, and then all of these Storage Shell Turtles also come with either 1 or 2 ninja stars. So those are the only, either 1 or 2, if it came with 2 ninja stars, is what I need to complete this figure. Really cool. Love the Storage Shell action feature. Like I said, I'm not sure if there's a specific way in which those accessories are supposed to slot in there, because every time I kind of put them in there, I have to kind of jam them in, and then when I open up the storage shell, they just kind of fall out, as you'll probably see in some B-roll that I took. So I'm not sure if there's a specific way that you're supposed to kind of stack them in here where they stay there, but a really cool action feature, and one that's practical, and I probably would have found it practical even as an 8-year-old in 1992, because I hated losing little accessories. But like every kid, I did it. I was just angry at myself for it. So really happy to have Storage Shell Donnie in the collection. And to go with Storage Shell Donnie, I've got Storage Shell Leo. Nice clean figure. Unfortunately, no accessories with this guy, but the Storage Shell action feature works nicely, so I just need to track down those accessories. And this figure actually came from a friend of the channel, Adam. So thanks very much for that, Adam. I appreciate it, mate. Now I just got to track his accessories down to complete him. Alrighty, for the next one, we go back to 1989 with a Wacky action figure, and it's Wacky Action Raft. Now, I've already got this guy. I've just been hunting down this star accessory. But I found this figure, and he's complete, and he's in great condition. The price was right. He's a definite upgrade of the version that I already have, because my existing version has a broken belt. So this is definitely going to be an upgrade in the collection, and now I can tick off another accessory that I've needed to complete the 1989 wave. Now, if I remember correctly, I'm just down to 1 Ace Duck Grenade and 1 Wacky Action Mikey accessory, and then we can tick 1989 off. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this series of figures. I don't like the faces on them. The eyes kind of weird me out. But it's, look, these ones are big for nostalgia, because this came out during a period where I was still collecting the Turtles. I didn't have Wacky Action Raft, but I had the Wacky Action sword slicing Leo figure, so still very nostalgic. And like I said, I'm trying to kind of complete that era of the Turtles, so really happy to tick another one off. Next up, I'm venturing into yet another one of these themed sub-series of Turtles, and I'm talking about the Sewer Sports Turtles with Grand Slam and Raft. Grand Slam and Raft is complete. He comes with his mitt, his bat, and this pretty cool T-ball accessory here. Now, I'm pretty sure I said that I wasn't going to go down this rabbit hole of all these different themed sub-series of Turtles, but firstly, it's a 1991 series, and I'm trying to get... The mitt's gone. I'm trying to get through to the end of 1992. But the other thing, it's Raft. I've always been a sucker for Raft figures. Raft was always my favourite as a kid. That's where it all started for me. So, as is often the case with these sub-series of Turtles, I start with Raft, and then I want the rest, and that's exactly where we're at here. And one thing that I didn't know about this wave, and I'm assuming it applies to the rest of the Turtles within the Sewer Sports series, is they've got action features. So with Grand Slam and Raft, we'll get his arm out of the way. He's got kind of an articulated waist there. It clicks back in place. We push the button, and he swings away with his bat, and you can set it up against the tee and have a good old time. Now, the tee has some nice sculpted details on it. It's got like a sewer plate base there, so that's pretty cool. So, yes, Grand Slam and Raft is in the collection, and now I've got to go about picking up the rest of these Sewer Sports turtles. Alrighty, we're getting towards the home stretch now. We've got a figure here and a couple of accessories for the 1991 Talkin Turtles wave. First up, we have a near complete Talkin Leo. Now, you might have seen in previous videos that I've got a complete Talkin Raft and Donnie, and then Leo and Mikey, just the figures with no accessories. So here we've got a much nicer version of Talkin Leo with his phrase flag minus the decal, unfortunately. This kind of chain weapon accessory that looks a lot like it would be far more at home with Mikey, because it's got a bit of a nunchuck vibe about it. And then we've got this Billy Club accessory as well. So Talkin Leo is complete except for the decal for the flag. So we just need to try and find a new version of the phrase flag. And then while we're talking Leo, I've also got this phrase flag to go with my Talkin Mikey. Pizza time on one side, cowabunga on the other. Nice condition. Often these decals are missing or really beat up. So this will go with my Talkin Mikey figure and get him a little bit closer to being complete. And while we're talking about standalone accessory pickups, I just picked up this sword accessory that goes with Mike the Sewer Samurai. So I can now complete Mike the Sewer Samurai. So that's a good one. And then we've just got a couple of figures that I picked up that have no accessories. But these came with other figures that I picked up, and these were like a couple of bucks a piece. And I've got a policy that if there's turtles for kind of $2, $3, $4, I can't not pick them up. So we've got a Rat King, one of my all-time favorites. This is not going to take the place of the Rat King that I've already got in my collection. Even though the condition's pretty good, the Rat King that I've already got on display behind me up there is actually my childhood version. So here we've got a spare in decent condition for a couple of bucks. We've got a Genghis Frog from 1989 in fair condition. You know, once again, I don't think he's going to be an upgrade, but like I said, I just can't say no when these guys are going for a few bucks a piece. And Undercover Donnie, a 1990 figure, I believe. Yep, so Undercover Donnie. And we finish with one last figure that again comes from a new sub-series that I don't have yet, and that's the Head Droppin' Turtles. We've got a Head Droppin' Donnie here. Fair condition, little bit of playwear, no accessories, and unfortunately that belt's broken off at the back. So that's a little bit of a bummer, but that's all right. This figure was like $5 with, from a seller that I already had figures purchased from. So it was just like, throw it in the box for $5, and I was happy with that because I really wanted to see how these Head Droppin' Turtles work. And it's, it's a cool concept, just like the Storage Shell Turtles. It's a nice play on, the natural kind of ability of a turtle. It looks kind of weird now that it's in my hand because the head is really small. The head obviously has to be small enough to fit inside the torso. So it's got wide shoulders with a small head on top. But that's all right. It's all about the play feature, and it still works nicely. Donnie's head clicks down into his body, and in a very kind of Kenner-esque, functionality, you squeeze those legs together and it pops up again. So, like I said, a nice, just fun $5 pickup, and it's really cool to see how these Head Droppin' Turtles work. And that is it for the vintage TMNT action figure haul. Hope you enjoyed getting a bit of a look at the turtles that I'm adding to my collection. Now, the turtles have officially reached the limits of my display space once again, so very shortly I'm going to get my hands on some more display cabinets, whether it's another one of these that you see behind me, or maybe a couple of IKEA Detolfs. Not quite sure which way I'm going to go there, but definitely going to have some more display space soon, because by the time I do another one of these Turtles pickups videos, I really want all these guys on display so I can do the collection justice. As for the next video, that will either be a WWF VHS pickups video because I'm still stacking up the wrestling tapes, or it'll be my pickups from a recent trip to Canberra and the Canberra Vintage and Collectible Centre. Not quite sure which one I'm going to do first, but until then, thanks so much for watching. Check me out on Instagram. I recently set up a new Instagram @CrusherCollects. Would love to see you there. But above all, thanks for watching. Hope to hear from you in the comments. And until next time, cheers.